Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got part 2 of my collection overview video in which we are going to get into watches. I originally intended this to be just one video, but well, it turns out I talked for an hour and 7 minutes about pocket knives, so I decided I needed to give my voice a little bit of break there. So let's get into watches. But of course, first, number one disclosure, do not get into watches. Seriously, it is the only hobby that would make burning $100 bills recreationally look cheap. And I'm very lucky in that I have both Patreon patrons who make this video, as well as every other one possible, as well as just like a full-time job on top of a review channel. That's how I'm able to own the kind of stuff, the caliber that I do. But at the same time, if you can avoid it, just buy one quartz watch and be done. You're going to be happier for it, more reasonable and sane anyway. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the watches that are in my personal collection. I'm going to present these in no particular order, although I may grab some just sort of randomly. This we'll start off with is the Formex watch, Field watch. This is a nice watch. As you can see here, it's wearing the Formex Velcro strap, and in a lot of ways, this feels like the best strap for this watch. The watch is titanium, super lightweight, and the Velcro is also very lightweight. It's not a dressy watch, and this is not a dressy strap. This is just a good little watch to throw on in a t-shirt or something like that, right? If I'm fashion blogging, that's where this is going to work best. And it's a good watch, generally speaking. It works well. I still do wish that the lume were white rather than orange, or vintage, I suppose, in this particular case. That doesn't still suit my aesthetic well, but it's still a really nice piece, and it's one that I'm a big fan of. So the Formex Field is definitely a watch I appreciate. Speaking of Formex, actually, let's just go there. I have two other watches by Formex. This right here is the Reef. This is the original Reef Dive. Well, actually, this is the Reef 2 with the replaceable bezel. I have a separate black bezel that I can swap onto here, with just, I've got a video about that. But this is a great little watch. And then recently I picked up the Reef GMT, which is a slightly fancier version with an additional hand for keeping track of another time zone. And it also has an open case back as opposed to the closed case back of the original Reef. And it is just a great watch. Both of these are incredible. And one of the nice things about Formex is it's very easy to exchange the straps on these guys. And so very often, you know, I have this wearing this leather strap, but I could put this leather strap on this guy in an instant, and frankly, it would look more attractive. This is, these are in some ways backwards. It's just how they happen to be configured right now. But I will very often, if I feel like wearing the original, I'll just swap the bracelet over and whatnot. And so I'm a big fan of these guys, though. If I had to just keep one watch, there's a pretty good chance it would end up being this one. The Reef is just very good. It's very light, and it includes, it's got the quick change strap thing. For Formex is just so good. And they make it feel like, oh my God, these other big companies are so lazy given their pricing. So that's the Formexes, and they do really interesting work. I'm a big fan of them. Speaking of micro brands, I'll throw in another micro brand real quick. This right here is Cerica. I have, this is their, oh God, what is the name of this? Does it say on the back? Please say on the back, 4512. This is the Cerica 4512. It is a manual wind watch with a screw-down crown. That's really dumb. It's not something I'm a big fan of there. And frankly, I wish I didn't care for this watch, but the thing is, it's really good. It is nice. As annoying as the manual wind thing is, especially with a screw-down crown, it is a very nice watch. It has very good lume. It has very legible face. It looks a little different from anything else in the collection, and this bracelet is ridiculously good, right? It seems like it's really cheap and dumb, but it's actually quite nice. The Bonklet bracelet is great, and so this is a watch that finds its way onto my wrist regularly, and this is not one that I figured was going to stick around, but it absolutely has, and it's a watch I'm very happy about. Other micro-brand stuff that I've got around, this guy hasn't formally entered the collection yet, but I think it will. This is the Greg Stevens design. This is the GSD 5B. This is a brass watch, I'm sorry, a bronze watch, and so it's very different. Right now I've got it on a Nick Mankey Designs hook strap that is very good. But this is just a cool watch. I think it looks nice, it looks interesting, it looks different, and it has very good lume, it runs well. There's a lot to love about the GSD here. I've reviewed his stuff in the past, and this is probably my favorite one of his. He's done very good work. Actually, another watch that was designed by Greg Stevens Design is this guy right here. This is the watch that I built. I have a video about this, but the American Watch and Clock Institute, AWCI, has a build-a-watch course where they just bring random jackasses to a trailer full of watchmaking material, give them the parts for the watch, and then you put it together right there. And that was a really nice experience. It was a lot of fun, and this is the watch that I built in that process. And it's cool, right? It's another Greg Stevens design, but more importantly, it's a watch that I made. It's a watch that I built. And so it's one that I'm very happy to have in my collection. It's one that I like a lot. And although I don't wear it as often as some of the other ones, just because aesthetically, you know, but at the same time, it's great. I really, that was a great experience, and this is a nice reminder of that, and of the fact that, you know, maybe I should get deeper into watches, start watchmaking. That's very much a temptation. Other micro brand stuff. Right here we have 2 watches from Serge Panchenko. Right here. So in case you just had a surge of enthusiasm, that's why. So this right here is the Serge Panchenko, the Model 1 watch, which is completely ridiculous. It's really heavy, it's tanky, it's overbuilt, but it's got an undeniable charm to it. It's a very EDC person watch, but it's a good watch. I'm definitely a big fan of it, and I wear it just because it is so wildly different from anything else in my collection. And then this is the Model 2 by Serge, and unfortunately, the bracelet that Serge developed for it, the rubber bracelet, doesn't fit small wrists. So as a result, I can't wear it on that, but I've got it on a leather strap here that's okay. But this is another very nice watch. It's very interesting. It's very different. The lume is wild on it here. I'll charge it off camera. Yeah, it's very, very well lumed. It's a good watch. I'm a big fan of this guy, and I'm a big fan of Serge, generally speaking. I'm very much looking forward to checking out the next model, which is going to be a quartz watch. Beautiful. Actually, speaking of quartz, I'll show you this guy right here. This is a Meritac watch. This is a titanium watch. It's on a titanium bracelet that was actually sent to me by a viewer. They found that this happens to work on this particular watch. And you know what? It's a really cool little thing. It's a GMT watch. It is a little quartz thing. It has, again, wild lume. That's a thing that is very desirable for me. Like, the lume on this is just ridiculously good. It's very much a military aesthetic as I'm trying to hand wind a quartz watch. Good Lord, I'm dumb. But nonetheless, it's a cool little piece. And it's something that I very much appreciate. And yeah, so I'm a fan of this. And I'm a fan of quartz watches more generally speaking. And yeah, this is a nice example of one. There's never been a review of this guy because they're very, very hard to get. Meritac is very droppy, and so it's like, oh, they're available, oh, they're gone. And so it doesn't really make sense to do a review on it, but at the same time, it's cool. It's definitely something I like. Another micro brand that I have is this little guy right here. This is the Christopher Ward. This is a mechanical super compressor watch. The super compressor is just a case style in there, but it has a nice movement in the back here, and it's on a Christopher Ward deployant clasp, which is the second best one out there, besides the Form X, which has the quick adjust in there. But this is a cool little watch. It's on a nice little... It works very, very well. The bracelet for it, ultimately, I didn't end up liking, and I generally end up liking bracelets. But the watch itself is cool. It has an internal bezel here, so I can turn the bezel this way, just like any other dive bezel, if I want to. And it's a no-date watch, which I've actually grown to appreciate more as I wear more watches. I can look at my phone for the date if I need to. But I know that's validation for some people. Nicolay, yes, I know. Sorry, one of my moderators. But anyways, this is just a watch that is very much not my usual style, but it has actually worked out very, very well. It is a piece that I very much appreciated, and that, you know, yeah, it brings me some joy. So the brown dial is kind of a neat thing. It's not something I've done a lot of, but it's something I've been doing more of. And actually, along those lines, here's this little guy. This right here is the Seiko MAS 63. That's not the model number. That's just the model identifier. This is, I think, the SPB 145. But this is right now actually on a Form X clasp that I've hacked to work with this random leather strap. But the bracelet on it was out of trash. I said Seiko, so you understood that part. But at the same time, it's a very, very nice little watch. It's got very nice style. It's a little bit vintagey. It's got very solid lume. Charge it up off camera here, which works very well. It's just a cool watch, right? I'm a fan of it. And, you know, I'm wearing this guy. I haven't filmed my review yet, right? There are some pluses, there are some minuses. But for the most part, this is a watch I've been enjoying, and so that's why it's on my wrist at the moment for review. Let's see here. Other micro brandy kind of things. There's this little guy, which is in my collection only mildly. This is the Vario on the bunt strap. It's it's kind of a wild thing. It's very much a fashion choice, not necessarily one I'm going to wear a lot, but it's cool enough that I've decided to keep it around, right? There is definitely some joy there. Other micro brand, there's this guy from Undone. This was a gift to me from the Reviewers Guild, so to speak, which is a shadowy cabal of review. It's an Instagram group chat where we mostly shitpost about Seikos at this point, but nonetheless, in favor of, and G-Shocks. But nonetheless, this is a Batman watch. In terms of quality, no. Not particularly. It's a very nicely made watch. It's not a nicely done one particularly, but you know what? It's cute. It's a joy, and it brings me pleasure at some very real level. I think this is already, the battery is already dead. Oh, no. Yeah, no, the battery's already dead. That's cool. I got this like a year ago. You know what? That's okay. But it's the thought that counts, and it is absolutely quite a thought. Oh, Undone. Speaking of more quartzy, low battery sorts of things, this right here is a Casio Royale. This is the original stock sort of version, and then this is the fancy cased, full-on steel case version that I built in a video you've already seen. I got a full review coming out of the case in the end. Ultimately, the Casio Royale is a great watch. The steel case version is that made a lot more expensive. I find myself, if I just need like a cheap beta watch, I will very often grab the Royale here. It's very, very good for that. That's a joy. Other Casios. Casio is a brand that I do appreciate. This is a G-Shock that was given to me by some family members, so it's a beautiful thing. My godparents sent this guy along. Is it going to be my favorite watch? No, but it is definitely a watch that I've got, and it definitely brings me joy there. And then there's, of course, this guy right here. This is the Casio Pathfinder. Oh boy. This is not the original one that I had, but it is, I had one of these as a kid, and I was that nerdy, yes. I am never that much of a traveler. Oh, the battery's too low to use the compass. That's nice. But nonetheless, this does eat batteries like crazy, but they're easy enough to replace. It is I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a cool watch, but it's a cool watch to me. So there is definitely a joy there. Speaking of Casio, here is a slightly higher-end Casio. This is a Casio Oceanis. I had another version, the, what is it, S5000C, that I absolutely loved. And then I made the mistake of logging on to Seiko Japan. This is not a paid anything. They're just a company that I used to import these. And they had this version, which has this very nice, I'll see if I can shed some light on the situation here so you can see the nature of this crystal. But what we have here is a very, very nice crystal here that actually does have gradation and coloration. In sunlight, this part almost gets to a bit of a rusty color and then blue on the other side. This is the same watch internally as the original Oceanis that I picked up, the high-end, that one. That is, it just is a different color. There you go. You see a little bit of the purple and the rust over here. It's just a different colorway, and it's just, to me, it's more attractive. And so when I saw this, it was like, oh, no. But, you know, as a result, the original one is going up for sale here. And so this guy is sticking around, but it's a beautiful watch, and it's ridiculous. And it's proof that Casio does have a very, very high end, and that what happens there is actually great. Speaking of high end, actually speaking of lower end, this is the Citizen EcoDrive BM8180. This is one of the very best budget watches you can get out there. At the moment, it's very low on energy. I need to throw this guy out on the windowsill for a little while, but it is a very, very nice daily driver sort of watch. It's a very good watch for travel. There's a lot of joy in the BM8180. It's still one of the watches I recommend most, and so that's why I've got one around here. And then on the really low end, speaking of budgety, we have right here the F91W and the Casio F108. Both of these are incredibly inexpensive watches that are perfectly sufficient if you want to tell the time. So, you know, if you're just looking for a budget sort of watch, if you want to spend very little money, these two are the choice. If you want to spend some money and get a good watch, this is a really nice choice, as are any of Citizen's EcoDrives. They're very good. And then if you want to spend a completely ridiculous amount of money, well, that's where Omega comes in. So I'm very lucky in that I'm able to own a couple of higher-end luxury wristwatches, you know, I'm sorry, this is a high-end luxury wristwatch as well. But nonetheless, and Omega is probably my favorite brand in that space. This right here is an Omega Aquaterra. It is a quartz Aquaterra, so I was able to get an incredible deal on it. And this is the watch I wore on my wedding day, so this one is this one stuck with me, so to speak. But it's a beautiful thing in that right now I've got it on a Formex bracelet because Formex just makes great bracelets with the quick adjust in there, which is just amazing. But this guy is a very nice watch in that it can be, if I put this on a black leather strap, it becomes a dressy watch. And if I wear it like this, it's sporty enough that I can still get away. That's a beautiful thing. This is the Omega Seamaster Professional 300. This is the just a really cool little watch. It's very much a throwback to the James Bond GoldenEye sort of era when I was growing up as a kid. I remember as a kid looking back at the GoldenEye watch, like looking up the one that was online and finding out it was like, oh my God. At the time, they were like $2,000. It's like, oh my God, how could any idiot spend that on watches? And well, here I am, but it's a really nice piece. I'm going to be honest with you. It's very big. It's very thick. It's very heavy. I like the way the reef wears on the wrist a little bit better, but this still has an undeniable style, and it has that link to my childhood, and that's a beautiful thing. It also has a great toolless quick adjust clasp. There's a lot of joy in this guy. I still do wear it. In fact, I think this was on my wrist earlier this week, but it is definitely a thing. And this guy right here is the Omega, this is the Seamaster 300. This is a great watch. It is wonderful in that one of the reasons it's wonderful is the sheer amount of lume on this thing is wild. It is a fully lumed watch, but it is also just a really cool watch. It's got a beautiful movement to it, as does the other Omega. I mean, I want to be clear. These are both gorgeous movements. It's got a very nice movement to it. It's a nice case, nice bracelet, toolless quick adjust. There's a lot to love about this guy. In practice, and I was just wearing this yesterday, actually, so, you know, it does get some wrist time. In practice, if I were going to sell any of these watches, this might be the first one to go, just because it is a lot of money. There is a lot of money tied up in here, and especially with things like the Formexes, I find myself going lower end in the watch space lately rather than going ever higher. And so, anyways, but it is still a great watch, and it's one that I'm very happy to have around, and it is a watch that I could wear. If somebody said, hey, this is your last watch, like, okay, yeah, it's great. I could totally do it. It's a really, really nice piece. And it's a very, very cool watch. So anyways, is that everything? I think so. Holy crap, that's all the watches. Only 17 minutes. That's easy. So anyways, there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.